live, Peter.
Happy Friday, Miami. This is Buy, Sell, Hold, a real estate podcast about what's going on in the Miami real estate market. I'm Peter Zalewski. I'm a condo consultant. I'm also the founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. I'm here with my co-host, the moderator of the show, no one else but Daniel Hernandez. He is a real estate professional over at Compass Real Estate in Coconut Grove. He does single-family houses as well as condos. Daniel will be running the show, so let me pass him the baton. What's up, Daniel?
What's up, Peter? Running the show. This is a joint partnership we have here, and I like to keep it that way. But Peter, I couldn't do it without you, man. I really couldn't. Everybody, this is Buy, Sell, Hold, episode number 27. It is almost Thanksgiving, almost the holidays, and that means, Peter, we're ramping up for winter buying season. And we have so much to talk about. So much, in fact, I think next week we're going to pre-record the interview, the podcast, because who's driving home on Friday after Thanksgiving? Everybody's probably sleeping. But stay tuned for that. This week, we have 5 incredibly compelling stories, and I want to jump right into it. But if this is your first time joining us, Buy, Sell, Hold Miami, this is a talk show about Miami real estate. And we're going to talk about buildings, we're going to talk about houses, we're going to talk about condos, and sometimes we have to talk about politics. We don't mean to, but it's just, it happens here because so much of it has to do with real estate here in Miami. So at the end of each topic, you're going to see in the bottom left of your screen, we're going to buy, we're going to sell, or we're going to hold it after we talk about it. We might not always agree, but usually we get to the bottom of something. So with that, Peter, I'm going to kick it off. FEMA numbers flooded with discrepancies. So the story came out earlier this week talking about how what's happening on the ground in a lot of municipalities, pun intended, isn't actually reflected in the FEMA flood maps. And so for anybody that doesn't know, FEMA, federal organization, they release these flood maps every so often. And these are really important because when you go to buy a house, especially in a place like South Florida, we're concerned with climate change and rising tides and all that good stuff. Well, when you go to take out an insurance policy, your mortgager, your mortgagee, the bank is your mortgagee, your lender will say, hey, you need flood insurance. And they base that on the flood insurance map, the FEMA flood insurance map. Well, what we're seeing here, and the Miami Herald put out a story earlier this week, what we're seeing here is that sometimes what's happening when it rains doesn't coincide with what's happening on the FEMA flood map, meaning that places that shouldn't be flooding are indeed flooding. And that is sort of, well, scary because so much of what happens here in real estate in South Florida is based off what it's the insurance crisis. And we have an insurance crisis because insurance costs are going up and up and up and up. But if the insurers are basing their numbers off of this FEMA flood map, Pete, then how are they making financial decisions, on your insurance premiums based off of that data? Is it right? Is it wrong? How do we even fix this? And I need to also add that the FEMA head resigned on Tuesday, so that doesn't give me much faith in that organization.
Wait, Daniel, we didn't get the October employment numbers. Did you notice that?
I
And
I
and they're
didn't, but I
they're
know now.
Yeah, so they actually canceled the October employment numbers, and we missed a bunch of numbers while the federal government was shut down for north of 40 days, the longest shutdown in U.S.
Wow.
history from
Yeah.
everything I've read. So, not necessarily having up-to-date information, it's not a new thing. It's something that's been going on quite some time. But the Miami Herald, kudos to them. Miami Herald's very good when it comes to the investigative part of it. I just want to read just a paragraph or two from the story because I think it encapsulates everything. And really what the Herald says is the Herald, using the best available data, they tracked 16,569 flood complaints from more than 12,000 locations in Miami-Dade and Broward County over the last 11 years, and it put together a comprehensive map. But these two admittedly provide only a partial picture and almost certainly underestimate the problem. That's because lots of flooding is never reported to the agency. Why would you report something if it's minimal because your price is
Well,
probably going to go up?
it's like how they say you never even call your insurance company to ask for a quote of what if, because that goes into their CRM saying, "Ooh, well, he called." And that goes into their algorithm, their formula, and your insurance premium could go up as a result of you calling. And you mentioned that the Herald said something about doing their own study looking into the Miami-Dade County records. Now, Miami-Dade County actually tracks this on their own because we're Miami-Dade County and we're sort of at the epicenter of climate change and residents and us living in this environment. But
I
if you
don't think can you say climate change in Florida? I thought it was eliminated
Ooh,
from the books. No,
from the lexicon,
yeah, from the
so
lexicon. Wasn't it an
so
official
so what do
decree or
we
something?
say?
Well, let's just say it's it floods.
Oh, it floods. So
Yeah, it
so when a
floods.
torrential downpour, not even hurricane, I don't know if you remember last fall in Fort Lauderdale, they received something like 20 something inches of rain in a matter of hours. And this is, this Miami Herald story points to that event, non-hurricane, non-tropical weather, just, another day in the life. And and some of our municipalities here, Miami-Dade County is what I'm talking about, we track this. But if you go to other counties, maybe they don't have the funding to track it. Maybe it doesn't happen often enough for their constituents to demand that they track it. So they are 100% basing all of their analysis off of the FEMA numbers. So if the FEMA numbers are incorrect, then well, does it flood or does it not flood? I guess I just got to buy, sit, and wait for it to rain.
I guess you probably do, or maybe when maybe a recommendation. Anybody going out to look at a single family house, look and see if there's a high water mark. You go to some of these cities, like I was in Asheville. I was in Asheville before this Helene came by a few years back, and they used to point to this point near the river where it was a high water mark. Well, apparently after Helene, they surpassed that. But anybody looking for the last 100 years, they would have known what the high water mark is. Good luck trying to find that here. Or New Orleans, you can definitely find it because of Hurricane
Oh
Katrina
yeah.
and others. But this is all part of, I would argue this is part of Florida. I mean, maybe we don't want the information because the information is going to bring transparency. With transparency comes price adjustment. People make decisions based on having the information. And if you have a lack of information, if it's omitted, if it simply is lagging behind, you can't necessarily make a case one way or another. Much like the employment numbers in October. We're not going to know if the market was softening or not softening. Remember, because Federal Reserve Chairman Greenspan, he made a decision, not Greenspan, I keep saying Greenspan, Powell.
Jerry.
Um, yeah, he made a decision about employment, and nobody really knows what's going on. So sometimes the lack of information is great for the market because both sides can argue the case. But I think the bottom line is we have modern technology. We can pinpoint where somebody is based on their internet, based on their phone. I was in Cuba when it was permissible to go. You couldn't get internet on the island except if you were a public park. But let me tell you what, Daniel, I could use my Google Maps anywhere on the island, and I was blown away that Google Maps worked, even though there was no internet service. So the point I'm making is, if they wanted to figure it out, they could figure it out, but I think there would be some repercussions to figuring out. And maybe it's like it's like the big secret nobody wants to talk about because price valuations will change. So will insurance. That's why nobody calls. That's why the Herald had to do what they do, because you don't want to turn yourself in and put yourself on the record. And it's much like a used car. If you were in an accident, you go to Carfax or anything like that, you're going to know it was in an accident, and the buyer coming in is going to pay you less. So, I'm sure there's a push pull related to that, but kudos to the Herald.
Well, now, and this has been a recent change in transactions, even if you're not in a flood zone, if you have nothing to do, flood disclosures are required across the board. So if you're in a condo, you have to know if your neighbor upstairs bathroom overflowed and there was any sort of water damage. And it doesn't matter if you're 5 feet above sea level or 50 feet above sea level, although I don't think anybody's above 50 feet above sea level here. The point is that disclosure, 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 and it is required no matter what. I'm sure you can waive it, right? If you want to buy something, just buy something. But the standard is you have to disclose. And so whether or not the FEMA numbers are right or wrong, once pen goes to paper and you got to transact, I give you money, you give me deed, I have to say whether or not this house is flooded before. Not if it's going to flood in 100 years, if it's going to flood in 1,000 years. You have those 1 in 100-year numbers, 1 in 1,000-year numbers. But ah, I don't know. This makes me very nervous because if you can't,
Well,
is this just is the FEMA map just a rubber stamp? Is it just a watermark?
I think because the flood insurance is pretty much a nationwide backstop for the market, because private sector didn't necessarily want to get in there, so the government stepped in. You don't have to step in for certain things, whether it's like traffic lights or it's the military or things like that. I think they just stepped in, and what difference does it really make? Because the government is going to be primarily going to be backstopping it with the flood insurance, at least to the best of my understanding. But what I would tell you is, if you're worried about flooding, Move into a condo. They build condos down here. The first 8 stories are going to be the
Okay.
pedestal, the common areas on top of it. And they build these towers so there's nothing on the ground floor and it's raised. So if you're that worried about flooding, move into a condo. If you go into a house, assume it's going to flood. And if you take that perspective, hey, what could go wrong?
With that, are you buy, sell, hold on FEMA numbers flooded with discrepancies?
I am a buy, and kudos to the Herald. This is what they do well, and they've been doing it well for quite some time.
I too am a buy. Moving on, why so blue, Martini? I felt very proud of that pun. I've been putting a lot of work into our rundown titles, and that just I was inspired. What can I say? So Blue Martini, the famous uh, bar watering hole up at Galleria in Fort Lauderdale, which has gotten a lot of press because they're supposed to get redeveloped, much to the chagrin of the local residents. But Blue Martini, this local watering hole, is kaput. And what I want to talk about here, Peter, is what does this
Well,
say
well, well.
about?
They're still operating. They're still
Well, they're
operating.
still operating. Okay, they're still operating. They filed for bankruptcy, and you can sit in
This
bankruptcy and still
particular,
operate for a long time.
yep. This particular location, according to the Miami New Times.
Right. So what I want to discuss is what if Blue Martini can't make it, who's having a good time in terms of a watering hole proprietor, right? We keep on reading these reports that Gen Z doesn't drink anymore. They're California sober. You know what California sober is, Pete?
No, I can. No, no, no. Please tell me. I want to hear your
California
explanation. This should be
sober is
good.
when you only smoke pot.
Ah, there
It's
you go.
nice, right?
Perfect.
So
Yeah.
in California sober, they only smoke pot, or I don't drink, but I do ketamine every other day, sort of thing. The new generation is all wacky. But if the bar scene is having a difficult time, why are we building out $55 million entertainment venues like the Amazonico? Amazonico is the new group, Paraguas group out of Spain, came over here and built this ginormous venue right there on the corner of Brickell Avenue and 8th Street. So right there across from Brickell City Center, you got Komodo opposite. Komodo, by the way, is one of the top 10 highest grossing restaurants, independent restaurants in the country. Joe's
Wow.
is number one, in case you were curious. I think they did 50 million last year. But an outfit like this comes to Miami, spends $55 million. You got to sell a lot of cocktails to get your money back on this one. What's the rub here?
Well, I mean, I always say if you want family entertainment, you go to Orlando. You want adult entertainment, and I mean that very simplistic, you come to Miami. So Miami sells the night and Orlando sells the day for the families, if you will. And a lot of it's always been people who move down here, they always complain that, well, I come here, there's nothing to do other than go out drinking. Everybody goes out drinking. It's a party vibe. You go out at 11 o'clock, you get home when the sun comes up. Denny's is slammed in the morning with the people who are going for the traditional breakfast and the other people who are trying to get something to eat on the way home. So that's been the mentality. That's been the vibe. It's changed a little bit since the pandemic. But going back to this Blue Martini was a situation or a bar that kind of came on the scene, especially in the Miami area, and ultimately went up to Fort Lauderdale. But it came on the scene during the Great Recession. I remember we used to go in there. We'd be out on the streets hunting distressed condos and doing stuff. And we go in Blue Martini right at Mary Brickell Village, and we'd be like, oh wow, this place is dead, nothing's going on, but it's kind of got a cool vibe. It's got some music, it's got like a Latin aspect to it. It overlooked Mary Brickell Village. And you look at the one in Fort Lauderdale, again, a central location, great locations. That was sort of their key. They always had like good music, the drinks were reasonably priced, and it was just a good vibe. And when it started, it was nobody was going, and then the economy showed that things were happening, and then all of a sudden it blew up, and it was really good. And then they were charging covers. So fast forward to where we are today, and now it's becoming extremely difficult for every reason you just said. And one I would also add is the economy. Remember, the employment growth or the job numbers are so bad in terms of what the Federal Reserve is seeing, the central bank of the United States. They decided to pivot away from dealing with inflation, even though it's on the rise, and shift towards job growth. So you got to wonder if it's a combination of people not drinking because they're, what did you call it, California sober?
California sober.
Yeah, so is it the California sober aspect with Gen Z? Is it also the health aspect? All the reports coming out saying if you drink any bit of alcohol, it's terrible for you.
Right. It's like
And then the
cigarettes.
final, yeah, exactly. And then the final point is, what if it's just the economics? What if it's the economics that go on? There are some stock traders that say when the economy's going bad, people drink beer. When the economy's doing well, you drink spirits just because of costs and things like that. You don't make a lot of money off of beer sales, although in Miami it's probably $10 a beer now, if you can believe that. And if you get
I bet.
like a Miller Lite or something, you can't get Bud Light because we got the whole issue with that. But if you were to get a Miller Lite, it's probably going to be about $8 or so for effectively the trashy water. So you're still looking at $10 a beer. But I think things are getting overpriced, and I think Blue Martini is a good tell for what's going on in the economy. Now, the demographic that goes to the Galleria Blue Martini, and I've been there before, they used to do a Caribbean night. So they would bring in a lot of West Indians who live just west of there. Remember, there's a big cricket ground that's located in and around Fort Lauderdale. And in the one in Miami, it really went hard into the Latin music. There was a baseball player with the LA Dodgers called Yasiel Puig. He was an all-star outfielder, Cuban-American, Cuban, migrated here, went and played baseball for LA Dodgers. He got into a brawl in that Blue Martini on Brickell, just to give you context. So each of them has their own feel, their own vibe, but the common denominator is they're reasonably priced compared to. And if this one's running into trouble, it's a little bit of a challenge. And my final point, I'll just sort of throw out to you again, keeping in mind that people come here for the nightlife and they go to Orlando for the daytime. So according to the article, there was a they filed for bankruptcy. It has to do with their lease. The lease has gone up too much, according to the Miami New Times. And what they said is that it generated $3 million in revenue last year. Daniel, $3 million, the Galleria Blue Martini. And you know what their profit was? 77 grand. Now, I don't know how much of that
Wow,
was
they weren't even
skimming.
making 10% a bar?
I don't know if they were skimming. I don't know if the IRS looked at them, but that doesn't seem like a very attractive. That's almost like buying a condo with less than a 1% cap rate, like we're seeing in downtown Miami.
Wow.
That's
That doesn't track. I mean, what's the thinking here? A linen and tablecloth restaurant, the margin's about 7%. Am I correct there?
the restaurateurs that I've known have run independents. They always say you got to make 70%. You got to have a 7% profit margin on basically because you have to charge a 70% premium,
You have
or
to charge a
basically when you pay
70%
your
premium
bill.
to achieve a 7% margin.
Yes, correct. Better way
But
to put it than me.
that's you're serving food. A bar. I mean, I was talking to a bartender the other day, and I was talking about the mocktails. You know, mocktails are big because of this whole health trend. People still want to go out, but they don't want to drink alcohol, so they do mocktails. And if you go to any of these bars, especially Miami, you're not getting a discount for the fruit juice. You're still spending $15 on something with no alcohol in it. And I tell this bartender, I say, well, man, you guys must be killing it with these mocktails. He goes, no, actually, that vodka soda I pour is the cheapest thing in this restaurant because I buy this bottle of vodka for nothing. I pour it with some soda water for you, and I sell it to you for $25 because that's what a cocktail is, right? But the fruit
Yeah.
juice, the mocktails, in order to differentiate, they have to come up with all these little formulas and these ingredients, and then they got to tell the intern or the new guy, hey, you got to go cut limes for the next 6 hours so I can make these mocktails. So making the mocktails is actually quite labor intensive. So they don't make a ton of money on the mocktails, but the market's been demanding it, so they make them.
Yeah, according to this New Times story, so what Galleria up in, excuse me, the Blue Martini and Galleria does, they file for bankruptcy. It has to do with their, according to the New Times, and it has to do with their lease. The lease is being too much. And remember, when you go BK, you can ask the bankruptcy court to terminate a lease. It's the only group entity that can terminate a lease. So this might actually be a play to try to get out of the lease and or renegotiate the lease, or I don't know what the circumstances would be. But again, this is a canary in the coal mine, and that particular Blue Martini, that's going to target, I would say, more so those people who are coming from Broward County, but also the visitors who like to come into Fort Lauderdale and they don't necessarily go to Miami. That would be more of a Midwest type of crowd, or maybe the New England crowd. So it might
Sure.
be a good tell on what's going on in terms of, or who knows, maybe everybody's on, maybe nobody's doing match either, because that's the other thing that's not happening. They're not on match, therefore they don't need to meet him at the Blue Martini at Galleria Mall in Fort Lauderdale.
But you pointed out something that folks not from Miami or not from South Florida need to know. Very different vibes, right? The Latin vibe down here in Miami, and then you have, as you said, the Midwestern vibe. I need my Uber driver to speak English 100% of the time, and that's Fort Lauderdale.
Yep.
It's not right, it's not wrong. It just is what it is, and people like that. buy a ticket to an American destination. They want people speaking English. And guys, you're not getting that in Miami. So why so blue martini? Are you buy, sell, hold? And the question is to you, Peter, is this indicative? Is this indeed a canary in a coal mine? Are you a buy on that as an indicator?
Yes, I'm a buy that this the Blue Martini Galleria in Fort Lauderdale. This is a reflection of what's going on with the economy, and I'm not surprised by it. You listen, you want to fill the coffers, cut the price of stuff, and just to my and the point, Daniel,
They
I
can't.
talked
They're
to a
only making
restaurant.
70 grand on 3 million in revenue.
Well, again, I don't know how much sort of disappeared, if you will, but I was talking to a restaurant expert, and the restaurant expert, I asked him because I have this policy. I said, "Listen, you want to know what's going on in the economy? Look at the happy hour. If there's a happy hour, that means the economy's not doing well, and if there's not a happy hour, the economy is doing well because they want to keep their people busy. That's why they put things on discount. So the bigger the happy hour, the worse the economy is." So I asked this restaurant expert, and he goes, yeah, you could say that. So there you go. It's worth watching the show just for that little tidbit. And now you are an at-home economist.
I I went to school in Boston, and I don't know if you've ever spent any time in Massachusetts, Irish Catholic
Limited.
state.
Yep.
Their happy hours are only food. They can't do alcohol happy hours in Massachusetts, or at least not when I was there.
Interesting.
This was 15 years ago, right? Which
Interesting.
I would love, by the way. I would love there to be more food happy hour deals. I'm going to be a hold on this. I'll tell you why. There's been some news about Galleria coming out, the redevelopment. There might be something else here, and you pointed to it for a second. Maybe they're just trying to get out of their lease. Maybe they foresee. Maybe they have 5, 6, 7, 10 years left on a lease, and they got to get out of it. And this bankruptcy avenue is the only way for them to do it. So until I know,
Yeah, I mean, they only own they own 26 grand. That's how much they're behind. So it's not like it's a big number. So you could
right.
be right on
They're
that.
not arrears $2.5 million in rent.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm definitely a hold there. Moving along, courting developers. Another pun, not as strong as I'd like it to be. This is about the new Miami-Dade County Courthouse, Pete. Miami-Dade County, we have a courthouse. We have a whole justice complex there in downtown. This courthouse, built in 1928, 1929, I'll pull it up for everybody to see on the big screen. But have you ever been in there? It's a disaster, or it was.
Oh, I love it.
You would love it. You would
Dude,
love it.
I love it. The doors are so heavy. You
It
go
is
into urinal. I mean, this is for men. It was troughs practically. I mean, and the steps, the material. There was asbestos and there was all kinds of stuff. This is like a step back in time, and it was actually
floors.
operational.
Entire floors of this stuff were like condemned.
Yes,
If
correct.
you wanted, if the trial broke and you wanted to go grab lunch, you had to go back through security. You had to You had floors without bathrooms. It's a disaster, and it was so old and decrepit that the county finally said, "We'll spend $283 million to build a new one." Taxpayers said that we did not want to pay higher property taxes for it, and the county did it anyway, and they took out a loan. They hired a private developer, and they're paying that off. So this new justice complex, it is called the Osvaldo Soto Justice Center. $282 million, I misspoke, $282 million. So the old courthouse, they put it up for sale for $175 million. Is that what it said, Peter?
I will search for it.
Can
I
you
don't. I
double
don't.
check for me?
Yep. I'm double
So
checking it.
they put it up for sale, and nobody bought it. I think the note on it is $100 and something million. Am I getting my stories mixed up?
I'm scrolling through it. I don't know that off the top of my head. You got me flat-footed here.
In any event, I should have known that. But so they put this thing up for sale, no buyers, and now they're putting it up for bid. So another type of gavel is going to drop, and it's going to go out to auction, slam, in December, coming up right now. And I'm not too familiar with the county auction process for infrastructure. I guess it's the same as a regular foreclosure, right? You go on the little portal, you log in, you deposit some money, and then you make your bids, right? And so this auction is going to open up in the beginning of December, and it's going to run just until up around Christmas. and somebody's going to get it. And you can do anything with this. There have been plans. You had mentioned there was a plan to redevelop it into a hotel maybe at some point, right?
Hotel, yep. Yep. Yeah, with
And
like
and
a food
so
hall in the bottom or something. Yep.
this new complex, the Soto Center, the Soto Justice Center, looks right at it. I mean, they just plopped a new one right next to it. It's gorgeous. It looks nice. I'm gonna pull it up. Ba, 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 ba. New. So this is the old courthouse, right? This is the old one. It's gorgeous
It,
1920s architecture.
its sister project is out in L.A., Los Angeles. Same,
Oh,
same,
really?
same, 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 same. Yeah, in Los Angeles.
So, and then this is the new one. That's not a good picture of it, but
Yep.
it's all 2025. It's modern. It's $282 million. It better be pretty freaking nice for what we pay in taxes here. So, this historic building, ba, 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 what did they put it up for sale for? Why can't I find this?
Oh, that was probably at least a year ago. That was a long time ago that they actually
But
tried
what
to
was
sell it.
what was the price, Pete?
Just remember seeing the for sign. I used to drink across the street. There's a place called Old Dublin or Old Shithole Irish Bar, and the guys, and I say shithole in a good way because that's kind of what they position it as. So you would see the sign, but you know what's up with it, Daniel? It's right across the street from the Metro station. It's right across the street from the government center. It's right across from Brightside or Brightline. Brightline's just a couple blocks down.
What
I
did,
mean, the
what
location is tremendous.
what were we talking about last week that was up for sale for $175 million? I got that mixed up. We were talking about something last week. I said
Mm,
175 now. That's not in regards to the courthouse. Had hoped, the county is setting a minimum bid for $52.3 million,
okay.
which 50 for an existing building, yeah, it's probably covered in asbestos. It's got all these problems, but somebody could go there and rehab, and you got a freaking building.
It's a solid building too. I'm assuming you're gonna have to
Look,
like.
okay, let's go back to the Amazonico on Brickell Avenue.
Yep.
Reportedly spent $55 million dollars. I'm getting that from a good source, $55 million dollars on a build out for a restaurant. You can buy this building for that much. Yes, it's going to need probably close to that same amount of rehab, but we're talking about indicators and canaries and coal mines. Why isn't anybody buying this? Obviously, it
Well,
doesn't pencil because capital is expensive, but what about the future? Or is it just going to sit and burn a hole in your pocket?
well, I think some of the floors were closed, if memory served me correct, when it was still
Yeah.
operational, or I guess it's still operational for the time being. Some of them are closed because of what is it, structural issues, or just they're just not they're not usable, if you will, and they're slowly migrating now across the street into the new one. So you do have that issue. Anybody who does renovation or things like that, it's like once you open up the wall, then you really actually realize how much it's going to cost to fix. The other thing is, I don't know what the historical significance is this of this is. Is there going to be anything related to historical significance and any kind of renovations you need to do in order to position it into something? It is a landmark building. It's a site where Al Capone was tried. It's a site where Jim Morrison, right from the doors, right, he got arrested at Coconut Grove Park over by Coconut Grove, or the what was it called? The old convention center in Coconut Grove for public urination or public exposure. The lead singer from the
Oh, the
Doors.
Doors, Jim Morrison.
Yeah, Jim Morrison. Yeah, yeah. But he was in there. This is just one of those sites where when you walk in, you feel the like it almost like it's a brass handle on the door, and the door is heavy, and there's glass that's real
Feels like
thick, and
justice.
yeah, it feels like, yeah, exactly. It's like you're watching the movie Untouchables, where Elliot Ness runs down. You go in that building and you're like, wow, this thing is solid. We're not talking drywall like you go into some of these condos nowadays. You lean against the and you're falling right through. This thing is just solid. I used to go in there when I was a reporter because I would pull government records, lawsuits and real estate records. You'd go there, you have to write something on a piece of paper. They have to go dig it out. So it had a special place. There were little restaurants across the street. There were offices that popped up, all to kind of serve, these different lawyers that were in and around there. But let me give you one little interesting tidbit. Casey Paquette, who's a local historian,
Mm-hmm.
um, he says that Henry Flagler, old man Flagler, when he brought his tracks down, that's where the train stop was, right in and around where the new courthouse is. So you know how,
Ah.
yeah, you know how FEC kind of still has all that land. That's where the train came in.
Well,
That's where
they
it
put
ended.
the Brightline terminus is right there.
Exactly, but you know how there's like an area that's kind of weirdly shaped. It's not a perfect square. It's almost rectangular. It goes block by block by block, like to the immediately in front of or east of the Metro Rail
I'm gonna pull it up on the
tracks.
map.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's do a
But according
flyby.
to Casey Paquette, and he writes about it, and I've read it, and I've asked him, like, is this exactly what we're talking about? So it's a real. I mean, this is like the heart of Miami. Came online in 1928. Remember, the stock market crash was 1929. So this thing came around right before it kind of all went to shit. Yeah, there you go. You can see the land that's running parallel with those elevated tracks. Elevated tracks are the Metro Rail. The land that's in between is where Flagler used to bring in the passenger rail, and I think that rail was running until what, like the 50s or 60s or something, is what Casey had. There you go, perfect site. Yep, you can see it.
Oh, by the way, that place Tam Tam that's marked there on Google Maps, Vietnamese, fantastic,
Is it
fantastic.
fantastic? Okay,
Oh man, it's great. Great ribs, great wings. It's tiny, but if you can get in, just walk in. It's great. And there's a good pizza place next there as well. With
nice.
that, we're at time courting developers.
Yep.
Are you a buy, sell, hold on the courthouse? Will they will they get a buyer here? What's going to happen? Are they going to hit this $52 million reserve price?
At this point, I would say no because of my outlook on the pricing. In a normal market, I would say yes, but I think the way we're headed, and I've made it clear, I'm very bullish because I think prices are going down. I think that's going to be a stretch at this point. Plus, if you're the bidder, why the hell would you go over and above? Because the county's stuck with it. In worst case scenario, the county's either going to have to do stuff in order to resell it, or they're going to have to cut their price. So I'd almost sit out the first round and then turn around and buy it downstream, or wait to really kind of lowball it. Because this is the type of project, it's like when you do rehab in an old building, you open up a wall or something, and there might be like and all kinds of stuff
At
behind there,
this
and you didn't
point, I
plan on
would
that.
say no. All
I'm
right.
not sure what that was, but
What happened there?
oh, no idea.
I don't know. You're a sell.
I'm at sell.
I'm mm, I'm hopeful. I'm hoping somebody's going to come in. There's a right property for every portfolio. That's what I believe. And somebody can buy this and afford to rehab it, hold it, do what they want with it. I think you would be in the good graces of the county commission if you took this off their hands. We're going to be talking about quid pro quos in a few minutes. Um, Somebody's got to take it. Put
Hey,
$52 into the
what
government
about David
coffers.
David Martin? David Martin's got the Sea
David
Aquarium.
Martin's rehabbing everything. Sequarium and courthouse
Yeah,
together. Peter,
David.
this is where we can put the archaeology museum, the condominium museum.
Exactly. David, please, Ken Billions, please buy this place.
Oh,
Turn it into a condo museum.
little expensive for
I,
Ken Billions. He's doing too much right now. Did you see he's got a $2.5 billion building to put up? It's $1.5 billion and he wanted to spend. And I think
timing's everything.
I think we might have talked him into, even if he didn't hear it from us, somebody heard it and told him that, hey, the Vizcaya thing, you should just fund the whole village. Vizcaya Farm Village, just fund the whole thing. You can't just fund 20% of something. I'm going off on a tangent, but Ken Billions wants to give $20 million to the $100 million fund for the farm village. $20 million, if they can't raise the other $80 million, empty gesture. I'm a
Yeah,
buy.
but there you go, Ken. Give the 20 million for Vexkaya, double up on that, and then take down the courthouse as well. It's
It's only
perfect.
$100 million. That's like fuel in the boat for the afternoon.
You can move history in Miami in there. You can put the archaeological museum. You can put a condo museum in there. Every floor will be a different museum. I think it would be great.
Oh, museum. And then you could actually live up to the name Museum Towers.
Bingo.
I'm worried about Watson Island. I'm not really, but that's the title. What's going on Watson, Peter? I sent you the article, but and I've been heads down on it for I feel like the entire day, so I might just word vomit. But why don't you kick us off with it?
Okay, so yeah, you kind of brought to my attention. I've been buried in the numbers, going through some stuff. So let me just read the headline, the first couple graphs, and we'll kind of take it from there, if that
Sure.
works, Daniel. Okay, so this comes out this is Miami Herald. This is the November 20th version of the story. Daniel, I think you saw the 19th. I got the 20th. And what the story is basically saying is Miami's delaying a vote on a 29 million dollar sale on Watson Island site. Commissioners need more information. Just the first couple graphs. Miami commissioners are not ready to approve the $29 million sale of a property on Watson Island, saying they need more information before selling the land to a developer that plans to build 2 luxury high-rise hotel and condo towers in a deal that some residents have criticized as a giveaway. A giveaway.
Ooh,
Story
giveaway.
goes on
What?
to say on
Can we stop giving away stuff in this town?
Story goes on to say on Thursday, City Commission voted 4-1 to defer a vote on the sale of a 3.2 million acre site. That's what you said, Daniel. 3.2. There it is. 3.2 million acres. Excuse me. 3.2 acre site on the south side of Watson Island to IG Luxury, a subsidiary of the developer BH3 Merrimack. Commissioners Miguel Angel or Angel Gabella, Ralph Rosado, and Joe Carollo voted for the deferral, as did Damian Pardo, the item sponsor. Commissioner Christine King was the lone no vote. So basically, we got this
Ooh.
waterfront piece of dirt
And
that a group out of Turkey
this one
had
here.
had acquired or bought the rights to way back when. I want to say
2001, they got the referendum. This was 25 years
2001.
ago.
Yeah. And for a point of history, this is man-made island, everybody. So when they dredge all this, it's a man-made island. Another point of history: 100 years ago, when Miami's when the South Florida uh, Great Florida land boom started to pause, it happened right here because you had a tall ship carrying cargo that tilted over. It blocked the turning channel because where Perez Art Museum and Philip Frost Science Museum is, that was the port of Miami. So the vessels would come in and they would drop off at the port of Miami, and then they would exit because remember Dodge Island, where the cruise ships are and the cargo is, that's all man-made as well. So this is a site in and around where that ship went over, and basically it paused the market. It took a month to get the cargo off, make it vertical so they could get it out, and the market paused. And according to the books, there's a book called Bubble in the Sun. The market never came back from then. The following year in the summer, great hurricane of 1926 came rolling through and really put a real beat down on the city of Miami and on the area. So historically, they look at this as a significant point, but that is Watson Island. Another point of history: this is where, when the feds raided Elian Gonzalez's home, his Uncle Lazaro, over in Little Havana, they snagged him. They kicked in the doors. They snagged him. They put him on a helicopter, flew him down to Homestead before they flew him down to Cuba. Returned him because remember, this was a kid who was in the they were coming over to the United States from Cuba. They were in a raft. It went over. His mother died. He was out at sea. He was rescued. They gave him to the uncle. The uncle was there. There was all this stuff about, you got to send him back. And the argument was the locals who were here from Cuba, they were arguing you can't send him back to a communist country. It turned into a whole big thing. But the feds, Janet Reno, a Floridian who actually went to Coral Gables High School, she made the decision they need to seize him. They kick in the doors. They grab him. They put him on a helicopter right here at this site, and they ended up sending him down the Homestead before he went back to Cuba. So, and what else was there? This was where you had these
The chalks.
it was it was effectively a dock. You would come in here
Yeah.
and you used to be able to
The
buy fish. This
airplanes.
was like and Chalks is right over there. This was a seafood type of market. So the area has really got a significant history, but they've never done anything with it. Everybody's sort
Nope.
of driven through it. It's kind of like North Bay Village. There's no
I
reason to
knew you
stop.
were going to say it.
You stop over and you're on your way to something else. So the city, because it needed some cash, remember 2000, poorest big city in the United States, they needed cash. They cut a bunch of deals and they leased it out. And the group that took it over never really did anything with it. More recently, they were able to set up a club, but they're not maximizing what it's worth. So a group has come in, they've purchased the lease, and now they want to buy it outright because there was a referendum that was voted upon 10 years ago, and they want to go ahead and they want to buy it. And the amount being thrown around is $29 million for this site. Is it the right number? Is it the wrong number? That's basically what's up for discussion. And the city commissioners punted on it, and they want to defer, and they want to get more information related to this.
Well, again, I saw this story over the last few days as it came out in the Herald, and then I thought it was pertinent to talk about now. Because I actually just went to an event there, the e-boat races e-boat.
Okay.
It's like F1, but for electric boats. They, go fast boats are actually quite cool. But they utilize this space for, it's kind of like a utility space. They use it for events. They're the only thing that the Turkish guy, the developer from Turkey who put this here, the only thing he was able to do is actually build this super yacht marina that's right here. That's the only thing that's there. Otherwise, the parking lot. Probably about 15 years ago now, they put that children's museum, the non-for-profit, and that's really been the only thing on this parcel. Now, it's kind of confusing, and I want to make it less confusing for all of our viewers. There are actually multiple developments at play here. So what Peter just talked about and the City of Miami Commission vote, that's on the south side where you see this big warehouse thing here, right? That's on the south side, and that was bought from the lease, 75-year lease bought from this Turkish guy, and that's BH3. BH3, you guys might have heard of them because they're big partners in the Miami World Center project. So Matwani, I think it's two brothers, and
No,
they
no, I
got.
think I think Merrimack is Motwani.
Oh, I'm sorry, Merrimack is
Nit
Matwani.
Motwani, yeah.
BH3 is Feldman Free.
BH3 is like a condo developer. They're a group that came down here. They're actually the ones, if memory serves me correct, they're the ones who bought out the Trump building in Hollywood when it went
Oh,
sideways. So yeah, if memory serves me correct, they bought it in distress because it was a failure. So they bought it out and they were able to do it, and they've since built a bunch of different buildings. In fact, one of them they were involved with. I was an expert witness on the other side, if memory serves me correct.
so
Yep.
these guys got together and they spent something like nine figures to get this lease, or low nine figures to get this lease. And then if you look on the property appraiser site, if you click on it and you see the 10 point something acres, it's a bunch of addresses. So what I'd like to understand, and the Herald hasn't reported on it, I couldn't really get to the bottom of it, is what's this 3.2 acres everybody's talking about? Where is it? Is it completely necessary for the development? Why can't they just develop 7 acres? And the developer said, and I'm going to read it right out of the article, the reason why that $29 million figure, why they arrived at $29 million figure is because the
Yep.
property is subject to existing restrictions limiting what can be developed. They added that the $29 million purchase price far exceeds the $25 million floor that voters approved, and noted that the referendum also requires them to give the city $9 million to be used for affordable housing and more. Now, I am all about developers given their due for affordable housing. They don't have to, it's just part of the negotiation. It doesn't have to be here. I don't really care where you put workforce housing, affordable housing. It doesn't have to be here. I'm not somebody who my hair is going to catch on fire when you say, you have to build affordable housing. This is probably some of the most pristine waterfront real estate in town. You're not going to get any argument there from me. Now, that's project one. The other project, and I'm going to spin the map here, is on the other side of the causeway. And if you have kids, you might know this as Jungle Island. So Jungle Island is 18 acres about, and it's this whole swath here. You might know Jungle Island if you lived here prior to 2003 as Parrot Jungle. Parrot Jungle was built back in the 80s, maybe even before, in Pinecrest. And then City of
Oh yeah, it
Pinecrest
was
got,
way before the 80s. It was
yeah,
one of
so
the
it was when
it was an
Pinecrest was part of our
attraction. Yep.
unincorporated data. It was the end of the world. And so
Yep.
then in 2003, over the course of several years, but in 2003, they opened this complex, and it's called Jungle Island. It's a for-profit amusement park for all intents and purposes. You got parrots and water slides. It's kind of like an eco-adventure park thing. It's really nice, and it's on this great swath of land. Well, Jungle Island has changed hands several times. It was owned by an executive out in California. I actually sat next to him on an airplane.
Oh, nice.
And yeah. And so now ESJ Capital Partners, they got this in 2017. So they paid $60 million to transfer that lease to them. And they called up our good old buddy David Martin. He's everywhere. Good for him. So he partnered with ESJ Capital Partners, Tara, David Martin, and they want to do a residential development on this side. That has nothing to do with the county vote. It was in the referendum and passed, and so they're going to be able to do it. But this whole commissioner vote, not county vote, City of Miami vote, that they punted 4-1. Christine King voted no. That's on this side, and then the David Martin thing is on this side. And part of that deal, I know there's like it's a lot, guys, but part of that deal is they're going to take 5 acres of this 18-acre parcel and develop it. The rest is going to become a free and open park. Now, if you go back to when they built this island in 1919, I think it was, in the city charter, I don't know if it was in the city charter, I'm just saying that, but the intent was for everything on Watson Island would be open to the public. That's been changed, it hasn't been changed. I got to pay for a ticket to get into Parrot Jungle or Jungle Island. This is all private. It's all been privatized. So, and it makes me sigh because they say it's going to be public. Is it going to be public? I don't know if it's going to be public. And then to the quote from BH3, the property is subject to existing restrictions limiting to what can be developed. Guys, come on. You're saying that you're going to pay nothing for this and not lobby to get that changed? Of course you are, because that's your job. And I think you'd be successful at it. And that's why I think you need to pay more for it. Plain and simple.
So I took a look at the overall site. We're talking about the one that's in play right now for $29 million or whatever it is. So I took a look at the overall site where the marina is. So that'd be on the right hand side. If you guys see the marina, yep. Yeah, so that overall site's 10.8 acres. I don't know where the
Wow.
3.2 is. Yeah, I don't know what the
It's in
3.2
there.
is. I can only, yeah, it's somewhere in there. Maybe it's right on the water. I don't know. But basically, in that area, the zoning as is today, it allows 36-story towers. Now, if you go to build condos, you can do 1,600 and it's 1,600 condos, and they can be 36 stories. How many buildings you build is kind of up to you as a developer. Max, yeah, 1,600. If you decide to go hotel rooms, you can go 3,200 hotel rooms. Just to give you context of that, but that's for the entire
Right.
10.8 acres.
In one of these articles, they did quote the developers from BH3. They weren't going to scale that large. And I don't
Yeah,
know if
but
it's
well,
because
yeah, but it doesn't matter if you do or don't. You got the ability to do
you
it,
have
and
the
if you're going to
ability to do
reach
it.
if you're going to retrade it, if you were going to take a loan against it, if you want to build what you built and you want to sell the development rights that you have to your avail to, you can sell them. See, so don't think this is nice and simple. This is definitely going to be a sophisticated deal. The two developers who are involved with it, Nit Manwani, he's the guy behind Miami World Center. He's a guy who's been around for quite some time. His brother does a lot of stuff up in Broward. He does the stuff in Miami-Dade. Pioneers, they see stuff. They went to the Miami World Center. Many of you don't realize the World Center is coming around right now where you got the Apple Store and stuff. That thing was proposed back in 2004, 2005. Market went sideways. They struggled. They somehow held on to most of it. Some of it they had to get rid of, but now it's finally hitting. So he's got the battle scars to get through it. BH3 too. Like I said, my recollection is they came down during the Great Recession and they've been playing. So you got two veteran developers here. If it were me and I'm the commission, I'm saying, listen, these guys know the real value. Just go back and forth with them. Go back and forth with them. It's got to be reasonable because the last thing you want to do is make it seem like it's a giveaway. We saw what the response has been to the handover of the site for the Donald Trump library. You want to maintain that good karma, if you will. You want to maintain that good vibe, I
Well, in
would
the
think.
community here,
But you know,
and you don't want to make an enemy of the community here. The coalition that the community formed against the Turkish developer, I mean, he had 15 years before he finally gave up on it. The city actually claimed he was in default of his lease. He sued back,
yep,
won.
yep.
City had to pay him a bucket of money. But I mean, I know development takes a long time, guys, but the referendum, the original referendum to build here was done in 2001. That's a quarter century ago. And
That was
it's still,
before That was before the half penny sales tax, which I think was 2002. That's when we voted to put a half penny sales tax so we could expand the metro rail. What did they do? They went ahead and refurbished the buses and shored up the pensions. Just to give you context. So this happened before then.
yeah, it says it happened a few weeks after 9/11.
Yeah,
Nine
there you
11.
go.
That's how long it's been going on for.
Can I share an interesting Watson Island story that I think you're
Please
gonna love?
do.
Okay, so there's something down here in South Florida if you're not from here and you don't visit. Something in here a lot of people refer to as only in Miami. When something happens, you're like only in Miami. So that jungle island, it was originally parrot jungle and it moved over and they decided to diversify and turn it more so into a zoo besides just looking at birds. So they bring in some animal stuff like that. So one Saturday, according to Miami Herald, I'll never forget this. Somebody at security gets over the loudspeaker and they announce that there is a tiger loose. Everybody needs to seek cover. This is like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I just get these visuals like a pregnant mother pushing a baby stroller and the husband, everybody trying to get away because a tiger got out. So Fish and Wildlife went in there and they investigated. And the conclusion was they had these cubs, tigers, and there were monkeys that used to go around. And a monkey got free, and a tiger, which was very flexible and energetic, was able to get over the fence. Now, the reason it got over the fence is the people who were laying the mulch in the ground, rather than taking out like you take out kitty litter and you replace it, they were simply adding it to it.
They just
So they were
dumped it.
layering it. So they lowered the fence, and this tiger was able to get out, chasing this monkey throughout, and everybody was running for cover. This was such an only in Miami story. I will never
That's
forget that piece.
hysterical. That's a good story. All right, we're up on time. I'm worried about Watson Island. I know it was a lot. I think it's still happening. I don't want to have much in common with the City of Miami Commission, but I'm a hold.
Yeah, I would be a hold to a sell at that price. That price is way too low.
No, I I, I don't know. The property appraiser.
Why don't they lease
The
it? Lease it. Lease it again. Lease it. Why sell it?
yeah. I don't know. There needs to be more. Get your boys at the Herald back on the horn, and they'll figure it out. I look forward to the stories about it next week. I'm a hold. Last topic of the day: billboard blow up. Now nobody blew up a billboard, but they put billboards up in Times Square. Somebody did, and people were wondering who it was and who put up this billboard right here. Nope, that's the wrong one. This one. Mayor Stephen Miner is open for well, if you read it backwards, it kind of sounds like he could be corrupt because if you read it from the bottom down to the top, it says Mayor Stephen Miner is open for business. But Miami Beach is open for business. Mayor's office isn't open for business, so you can't just bribe him. But point is, a private citizen paid an ungodly amount of money to put these billboards up in Times Square, and everybody was wondering who it is. And we didn't have to investigate too much because that private citizen stepped forward, and he is none other than Mr. Russell Galbert from Crescent Heights, big development firm down here. You might know him if you live in Miami Beach because he's a big developer on the beach. Most recently put up 5 Park, that big building, 500 Alton, I believe is the address. So Peter, in his ever so internet sleuthing, he has a hypothesis as to why Mr. Galbert made such an investment into Times Square.
Well, if you remember back, so Russell Gelbert, and by the way, I did consulting firm in the past, just for disclosure. Russell Gelbert is a sharp, shrewd gentleman. He knows what's going on. The site where 5 Park actually went up, and if anybody doesn't know, so if you're coming from Miami International Airport, you're going towards the beach. You're gonna take the causeway. You're gonna go right next to Watson Island, where on the left-hand side is where the tiger got free and was chasing the monkey, and everybody in Jungle Island had to run. And on the right hand side is where an Elian Gonzalez basically was put on a helicopter and sent out. And you'll have the cruise ships, and that's also where Nit and Manwani and BH3 want to put up their site. You'll continue on. You're going to have Dodge Island, that'll be a cruise ship. And ultimately, you'll go past Ken Billions, which is Ken Griffin, his brand new cabana, which is known as his luxury yacht terminal.
You're calling it the cabana?
Well, to me, it's like a cabana. Then you're going to go past Coast Guard. Right? Exactly. Yeah, that's effectively his cabana. Again, another man-made island. Then you got the Coast Guard. Whenever they seize the cocaine or the marijuana or anything overseas, that's where it happens. Right there. You just went past it. If you zoom out a little bit to the west, Daniel,
yeah, it's right here.
There you go, right there. That's the Coast Guard. So I don't know if they burn it on site. So do not hang out while you're fishing and try to see if they're burning the marijuana or anything to collect it. I do not know what will happen. You continue onward. You get into South Beach. And right there where you see a vacant lot, right where the road sort of turns to the
vacant
left.
Anymore.
Not vacant anymore. That is where 5 Park is. But Russell actually picked up that site during the Great Recession. Picked it up cheap from a group called Africa Israel, who came in here. They thought they knew what they were doing, and the market went this shit on them. Now, why do I say that? Because according to the Real Deal, Russell has just sold off his headquarters for Crescent Heights, which is right there on 22nd and Biscayne. Now, why do I say that? Well, Russell, looking at the numbers, and he built this with David Martin, he's still got unsold units. Rough guesstimate, just ballparking it, he's still got 25% or so of the building to go. 20, at
Whoa.
least 20% unsold. And this is a rock star type of product. And if he is selling off, remember Swire Properties sold off Brickell City Center. They're cashing up. Supposedly they're going to build a Mandarin. I don't think you'll see it happen anytime soon, but that's me. So you almost got to wonder if Russell didn't want to really kind of promote Miami Beach because he's got unsold units to sell in Five Park. It's just, this is speculation. It's conspiracy, but there's unsold units, and that thing should have been sold out already. And if the market is turning, and if Russell is as shrewd as I know he is, where he bought that site during a downturn, maybe this is part of an initiative, because I
It's a
think this
marketing
winter,
campaign.
but there's a little bit more urgency. I think a lot of developers are throwing stuff against the wall this winter. And if it doesn't play out, I think there's going to be a lot of recalibration that happens once we get into the summer, just given the current numbers. Because remember, sales have fallen off. We're down 57% from 2021 in condo sales in South Florida. The summer of 21, the summer where we are today. So Russell has a lot of foresight, a lot of forethought. So I would not be surprised if you don't see him really pushing. Maybe Miami Beach didn't want to burn the cash on the marketing campaign. Who knows? But Russell
So
needs people to come here to be able to buy out those units, or he needs to lower the price, and nobody wants to do that.
so okay. You said your rough math says he's probably got about 25% of the units left. They broke
Yeah,
ground on
I ballparked it. It's
you
north of
ballpark.
it's
Okay,
north.
but say let's
Yeah.
speculate because we can do that. Nobody's
Yep.
our boss here. We can
Yep.
speculate. Might be 25%, might be 30%, could be 10%. But they broke
And
ground
by
on
the way,
this.
coming from Miami-Dade property appraiser, and how did I guesstimate? I went and I looked at the total units, and then I looked up the corporate developer. Corporate developer is effectively called TCH 500. If you go through the property records, you're going to see all these TCH 500s.
And there you go. So based off of that knowledge, that guesstimate, we'll call it. So 25% are left. They broke ground on this in March of 21. Anytime you talk to a banker, they'll give you a number somewhere between 40 and 60% of a unit has to be of a building, of a project, has to be sold before they'll get that construction loan. They don't want to do it
That's right.
when it's too low because then it's too risky. And they don't want to do it too high because then they're not making any money off of the interest payment. So 40 to 60 is that sweet spot for a construction loan. Now, if he still has 25% of the units left, and they broke ground 4 years ago in 2021. I think they just delivered the building this past spring. So it took them roughly 4 years to construct and deliver the building. They've had 4 years to sell off the remaining units, and they haven't.
According to the government records, they have not. And you know what's kind of interesting? The entity that owns them all, it's actually in Coconut Grove. Where's Terra located? Oh, Terra's on the Coconut Grove, isn't it? Remember, they're partners on it. Russell typically throws in the dirt and somebody else builds it. So I don't know how this is going to play out. I'm just looking at it from afar, what's happened previously. But yeah, so the address of the corporation that owns all the unit is 3109 Grand
Could be a
Avenue.
lawyer's office.
Yeah, could be a lawyer. I don't know if it is a registered agent or not, but I'm just looking at it really quickly. Yeah, so Jason GILG Guild.
I
So,
don't know.
anyways.
But to the billboards, why would somebody put up these billboards? Well, if anybody's been listening to any sort of news, not even buy, sell, hold, if you only listen to buy, sell, hold, all you're going to hear is Miami real estate news. But if you zoom out a little bit, you probably heard that a certain somebody won the New York City mayoral election a few weeks ago. His name is Mr. Mamdani, and everyone down here has called him the Florida Realtor of the Year. Why is that? Well, because he has some, we can call them extremist policies, good, bad, they are out there, and people's hair are lighting aflame. And folks down here, being the opportunists that we are, because we are very much opportunists here in South Florida, we say, hey, you don't like it up in New York, why don't you come on over to sunny South Florida? Sunny place for shady people. But reason why people like Florida, no income tax. It's sunny. It's sunny. No snow. So 3 of those are climate related. One is
But that's the
income
thing,
tax.
Daniel. They ran this ad and it wasn't snowing. Typically, the time that the money is spent is when the weather's really bad in New York and elsewhere. That's when you run the ad. Why would you run the ad if the weather's not that bad? It's like, okay, so what? That impact comes when it's snowing and people are hating their lives. The holidays are over and they're looking forward to nothing except chapped skin and everybody complaining and no sunlight. It wasn't the
But
case when they ran that ad.
I want to point out though that Mr. Galbert wasn't the only person to put out this ad, because remember we talk about South Florida real estate, but there are many stakeholders in South Florida real estate. You got Palm Beach, you got Broward, you got Dade, you got all the municipalities within these counties. Remember, because when you come down here and you buy a property, 2% county, 2% city, 2% schools. So everything's going to schools always, and then the county and the municipalities, they're competing against each other for this New York dollar. So if you look at this billboard, this isn't for Minor, this isn't for Miami Beach, this isn't Russell Gabbett, this is Palm Beach saying, hey, New Yorkers, you don't just want to go to Florida, you want to come to Palm Beach, Florida. I'm surprised Fort Lauderdale hasn't put out a billboard. There probably will be one in the next few weeks if they have the budget for it. Miami-Dade County certainly doesn't. If I see a Miami-Dade County billboard up in New York, I'm going to be PO'd, Peter. We don't have enough money for that. City of Miami wants to give another $7 million to FIFA.
Hey, Daniel. Somebody came up with an interesting phrase recently. They said Palm Beach is kind of Wall Street South. I never heard that before. Is
Wall
that new?
Street South. Wow, who came up with that? I've never heard that before. Ever, 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 ever. Wall Street
The
South.
book 1929, Daniel. The fantastic book you suggested that I read. I wanted to read it. I'm reading it, and they talk about Wall Street South was being pitched 100 years ago.
A
So this is not a new
hundred
play.
years ago. Wall
This
Street
has been
South
going
has
on
arrived.
for
Palm Beach today. Palm
quite
Beach
some
County is
time.
America's hottest new financial hub. Here's why. I mean, guys, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. You don't even have to know how to read. You download the Audible, listen to it. I don't work for Mr. Andrew Ross Sorkin, but he is a fantastic author, fantastic financial journalist. I do suggest everybody read it. But what Peter brought up is that it's not a con. It's not a con, even though most of the big cons were invented here in South Florida in the 20s. But it's not a con. We are an amazing place to live. It is fantastic. I don't want to live anywhere else on the planet. But Wall Street is in Wall Street. Brickell Avenue is Brickell Avenue. And I think Brickell Avenue has things that Wall Street will never have, right? We got Amazonico. You got what? Cipriani? We got one too. It's probably better. It's on the water. Nobody has to wear coats here. I think that's the primary reason why people come down here from New York. Income taxes be damned. They come down here because they want to wear bikinis.
Well, but let me sort of say it again though. If Mamdani, who's the new mayor, who's coming in January, and he's a self-described democratic socialist. Okay, he wants to have grocery stores, which apparently they already had these public grocery stores already in the city. I saw a documentary about it, but I don't know. He wants free bus rides and everything. If you're a worker, why the hell would you leave? Why don't you just save your cash and the money you're saving, come down on the weekend once a month?
They're not the ones leaving or supposedly leaving, right?
So, but if the others are coming because they're getting older and they're retiring, that's what always happened. So I don't understand
They were
this whole
coming
push.
anyway. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Well, and you bring up a good point. So all of these business development, intergovernmental affairs, we do junkets and we go to New York and all these far-flung places, Charlotte, Atlanta, trying to get businesses to move down to South Florida, right? We do have business here. Burger King is here. The cruise ships are here. Why not a big industrialist from Atlanta? Why can't they move down here? And I think this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to move industry to South Florida. We're trying to build more commerce here. We're trying to actually make stuff in South Florida other than condos and cruises. But their executives might already be here. They might be looking for a second home here. Where are the secretaries going to live? That's what we need to find out. That's what we need to solve for. They ain't going to live in Watson Island. Really? I mean, and I plead with our administration here locally. Don't use affordable and workforce housing interchangeably. It's different. Affordable housing is, it's affordable housing. It's like for really poor people who need it. Workforce housing are for nurses. Workforce housing are for firefighters. Workforce housing are for cops. Workforce housing for secretaries. And they don't want to drive from Homestead. So if you move your company down here from Charlotte, and then you tell your personal assistant she's got to drive an hour to work every day, come on. So dear NYC, it's not you, it's me. I don't know if I love that copy. I don't know if I love the Miami Beach one either. Who's doing these? Who's designing these? Russell, get a better intern.
Well, and that's sort of the point. If they've been talking about Wall Street South since the 1920s,
Come
why do
up
you
with a
need
new
to burn?
moniker, dude.
Why do you got to burn cash to market it? Everybody in New York already is well aware of South Florida. I mean, and to compete against each other. The last time the three counties worked together, I would say that they work together. Basically, they work together on three things. One thing is going to be always when there's a Super Bowl, there's a national championship. One county, like Broward County, will get one team as a hotel, and Dade will get the other one. So they're able to do that. The other thing they work together on is the Tri-Rail. That's that rail service, long distance rail
Tri-County
service.
Rail.
Yeah,
Tri-Rail.
and then
Sure.
but the last time they actually went out of their way to attract business was when they made the bid for the Amazon site. Remember, Amazon was going to set up somewhere on the East Coast, and the three counties got together and they made a concerted effort. They complemented each other and they went out there and got it. Now they didn't get the gig, but I don't understand why they don't work in unison. Anybody seeing it is going to say, "Well, I'm a Palm Beach guy, I'm a Dade guy, I'm a Broward guy or woman," and they're going to make that decision. But
Well,
for them
because
to be competing, it
they
doesn't make
are,
sense to
they
me.
are competing because that's where the property taxes go. What are they going to share property taxes?
I know, but each county has its own distinguishing characteristic. And people, why not market the whole broad area and once people get on the ground? Because a lot of
Because
people say,
then
"Oh, I
they
got to go to South
actually
Beach."
have to work together and get along. Our own municipalities, our own county commissioners can't get along, and you want to put more people
Yeah.
in the same room? That's disaster waiting to happen. But hey, Pete, we're up on time. You got any closing remarks? I feel like you got to say something. You got something to say?
Yeah. No, no. I mean, listen, don't believe the hype about everybody moving down here from Mamdani because we just did the experiment in 2021. People could work from home. What happened? Corporations call people back. So unless there's a corporate change in structure and policy, employees aren't coming. It's only the people who are going to retire here anyways, would be my
Jamie
opinion.
Dimon just built a bazillion-dollar office tower in Manhattan. What? So his employees can work remotely from Miami? Nah. I'm
And Ken Billions put a shovel in the ground. If all these people are coming, dude, put a shovel in the ground tomorrow.
I'm a sell on the billionaire blow up. I think it's I mean, maybe Russell has his own strategy. I'm sorry, I clicked for Peter. I didn't mean to. Maybe Mr. Galvin has his own sales strategy. And from that point of view, great. Market the shit out of your building, man. And maybe, he sees it as a marketing cost. That's fine. But to use municipal dollars like Palm Beach, I mean, it ain't an ad that's, hey, come here and spend your money like a tourist, which, by the way, please come here, spend money like a tourist. We love that. But, it's not creative. I've seen this movie. We've been reading about it for 100 years. I'm a sell.
And run the ads when it's snowing, not when the weather's fine.
It's the
If you want
best time
impact.
of year to be in New York, by the way.
Of course.
It's beautiful. Bomber jacket weather. You cuddle. It's not too cold. Buy, sell, hold, Pete.
I'm a sell on the marketing up in New York right now. So whatever that, yeah, I would be a sell.
And that brings us to the end of our show on this November the 21st. Next Friday
Yep.
is the day after Thanksgiving. So reminder, folks, we'll upload our pre-recorded video. We'll probably record it Tuesday, Wednesday. Maybe we'll wait till Wednesday. But until then, be safe, behave or misbehave because we're in Miami. We're not boring like Palm Beach and Broward. And that is our show. My name is Daniel Hernandez. I'm joined with my co-host, Mr. Peter Zalewski. Be well.